So we're the poor guys between the bar and this short presentation. My name is Peter Herwig. I'm heading the industrial business in Schneider Electric, and want to guide you a little bit through our digital journey. While a couple of years ago we would only talk about the technicalities and the technology, these days we're really talking about what's the value for the customer, what's the value that he can extract out of better connections, out of more data, out of a digital twin, and I'm trying to cover that in 5 minutes. So. It really starts off with some of the challenges that we also have, and we're talking about the empowered operators, that we are going to give a lot of efficiency improvement, because we're going to give them the necessary information already packaged in a way that they can do their task much faster, and with that using all the technology that is there. Obviously. There is also the challenge of the generations that we have, and we see this in particular in the United States. We see it coming in Europe, and if you go to Asia Pacific, it's the other way around. The folks are so young that they really know how to use the modern equipment, and they want to use it in the jobs, and we can make their job much easier. But it is also about economic value in respect to reducing downtime, in respect to reduction of the operational expenditures. We've over the last couple of years gotten to know how we can reduce the capital expenditures, but we also got to work on the operational expenditures in that respect. And obviously one of the headlines continues to be safety. That goes without saying, and the same is true for cyber, and we'll address it if we have time or in the questions. Energy consumption remains also a huge topic for us, because we think that the demand for energy is going to increase by 50% over the next 30 years roughly. And so we got to find out how we can reduce energy consumptions in that respect. And while all the data with IoT becomes available also on the top floor, of course, we want to make all the management decisions much more agile. We want to reduce the time of decision making, and we also want to bring products and also assets, asset being a plant or being some equipment, into cash much earlier than we've done this in the past. With that, of course, optimizing the business, but also maybe the business model. New technology usually also brings changes in business models with it. So we've been thinking about a simple architecture that we can start engaging with our customers, because many know Schneider Electric as a product company. And if you're selling, let's say, 400 million breakers a year, that's exciting in itself. But these breakers can produce a lot of data. So how do you bring this data up? So we say it's not products anymore, it's connected products. We want to bring the data of the connected products into edge controls close to the process, but we may also want to bring this data somewhere on a higher level that we call the software applications analytic services level. That may be on premise, that may be in the cloud, or it may be a hybrid solution. At any case, it is different from customer to customer. So really a three-staged approach with connected products and edge control that virtualizes more and more as we look forward, and then the software level. That, of course, needs to be paired, and many of the startups in the industry are realizing that. I've been with a bunch of startups last Friday and said, my problem really is the domain know-how. Okay, we got this one. I think we have the domain know-how. But not to be underestimated, obviously they've figured it out. They will go in this direction, and our journey is more how can we further make our core domain experts also more vigilant in digital expertise. So that's what's going on. And obviously that needs to be cyber secure, and I said about it needs to be either on-premise, it needs to be hybrid, or it needs to be in the cloud, pending on what the application is, pending what the customer is, pending what the site requirement is in that respect. So we're talking about not a product, but we're talking about an architecture that's valid in the markets where we are and the domain expertise. I think that is very, very critical. Now, when you talk about the level in respect to software, I'm going to make it a little bit even more complicated. I start off with the software. One of the things you got to figure out, how do I get all the data together? And I'll let you know in a minute how we do that and what franchises we use to make this happen. Connected products means simple things. To go with your iPhone, go into the cabinet, scan a QR code, you get all the documentation of a product. You can even get real-time data of that product if it is a connected product. Simple things. If you talk to the maintenance guy, he says, you know, where's the schematics of the cabinet? Well, he only needs to scan and he has it on his iPad. Or if he has lenses, he's going to get it on his lenses with with augmented reality. And so we're trying to utilize our strong position in that market. In the edge control, we've totally revised our portfolio in the last 3 years to make all edge controllers very seamlessly connectable, also with click-to-cloud functionalities, so that data can be transferred to a higher level here as well. So while this was a hardware business in the past, today even edge controllers has moved 75% to software business, because control is virtualizing as we go forward. Now, talking about the software, and I've talked about the data in that respect. We're not looking anymore at specific areas, but with the announced a reverse takeover of Aviva that you probably have heard about, that we announced in September, and we're hopefully to close it this month. We want to complete the complete digital process from designing an asset or a plant. That would be the process design, so the pressures, the temperatures, the chemicals that go in there, and based on that come up with a very nice P&ID diagram, so the process and instrumentation diagram, that will then translate into the control system, and at the same time have a very best-in-class 3D design tool that allows us to build the plan. Why is that relevant? It is relevant once you come to the operation and you want to bring this digital twin from the process design to the plant, to the control, and furnish it with real-time data. So you can get the digital twin moving in the same direction and operating in the same direction like it does in the real world. And the beautiful technology that brings both together is augmented reality or virtual reality, where you can blend data into each other. So you put on your glasses or your lenses, or you take out your iPhone while you go through sites and you look at different assets. Now, we have customers on the planet that have decided to put wireless into all their chemical plants. That's a big decision, only to be able to connect the real world with the virtual world. And then, of course, you go through the operations life cycle of that plant. Many customers ask us, how do I get started in my digital journey? And I'll try to explain it with a very, looks complicated, but it's very simple. I explain it to you, a very simple slide. It starts off with data. How do I get all the data on one platform? Well, you know, if you have control systems of the last 30 years, it's plenty of them, and you needed plenty of drivers. Those of you who are familiar with the Wonderware franchise, they know that this is one of the strengths of the Wonderware system. So we've used that strength of the Wonderware system. You also want to display that data. Well, that's a strength of the Wonderware system. So we've put it here into the monitoring and control, the visualization of the asset operations. We've taken these pieces out of Wonderware. We've made Wonderware also cloud ready. And that's kind of the kernel of our system platform that allows to bring all data there to display it. And once you have the data there to display it, to show it, and maybe some historic function to it, then you start applying some of the other asset-centric functionalities and software packages to improve the asset lifecycle. What you want to do is you want to increase your return on the capital employed. So the return on the asset you want to improve. And you start off with the data. Obviously, once you have all that data, you can also operate much more efficient and effectively. That's this green that green stroke up here that allows you to optimize the operations. It allows you to better schedule. It allows you to better plan. And with that, reduce the amount of free time that is out there to have the asset better under operations and so forth. So with one, you really improve the return on capital employed, and with the other, you improve the profitability. Now, there are a lot of different software packages behind here, and today we want to talk about one specifically, and I'll have Kim support me doing that. That's the asset performance management that we have here, which is also currently talked about a lot in the industry. With that, Kim.
Thank you. So the good news is just one slide. You're one slide away, one slide away from ending your day. So what I'd like to do here is just take the plus sign diagram that Peter went through and just highlight the asset performance management components, because this has changed quite a bit over 2017. And so the release that we've put out today tries to identify the adoption of that portfolio. Okay, so it's not just one area of the portfolio, but there are many areas of the portfolio that are being adopted based on the technology that we're deploying in order to build these solutions. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about that and about partnerships that we've created over the year to really come with a really robust start to 2018. So when we speak about asset performance for us, I've tried to simplify it here because it is a set of very comprehensive and complex topics. But to simplify it, we think about the fact that we're sitting on all of this data, connected data, disconnected data, data that we've never had access to before, and we're pulling all that information into the monitoring and control section of the plus, into the heart of the plus. We're taking that information and we're thinking about what to do with it. So it isn't about deploying a predictive asset analytics solution for the heck of it, because people say you should do that in a digital transformation. It's about thinking about the corporate objectives and how your asset strategy can support that, and then what components are necessary in order to achieve that. Okay, so to simplify APM, we leverage the data, the connection, the infrastructure. We think about how we're going to approach our strategy. So many companies want to understand what the digital journey looks like for them as it relates to APM. And this is where we can help them, because we've got 20 years of experience in doing this, 10 years specifically in predictive asset analytics. So we can take that information, we can help them understand their plant, their assets, their corporate objectives, and we can help build a strategy for them to determine the ROI that they'll get along that journey. In the analysis phase, this is also very interesting, because we've been doing, I would say, analytics for more than 20 years, right? KPIs, dashboards, graphing, charting, information about what's happening in the plant in various ways. And what we've added to that is the capability to run rules. Okay, so when you see certain conditions or conditions that are in combination, what sort of action do you want to take? We've added the machine learning, and this year we've really broken out from focusing it in the power industry into oil and gas. I'd say we're well on our way there. This allows us to look at very small anomalies in data that you wouldn't necessarily see or touch or feel, and these anomalies will identify for you potential failures. And so this is a few of the stories that we want to tell, and you'll see them in that press release. And then on the maintain side, well, we've been looking at operator rounds and digitizing work processes for a very long time. And we have the foundational elements of an EAM system with a full preventive maintenance scheduling application. And every system that we work on as it relates to APM has to have that foundation already set up. So these are the sort of the three stages. What we've done is leverage some new technology, some things that Peter's already referred to deliver on these solutions. Okay, so for instance, what we've announced today is the adoption of our AR/VR technology. So for maybe 10 years, we've been doing virtual reality in refining fully immersive virtual reality. We're taking that technology and turning that into a toolkit that will now be accessible across the asset lifecycle. So it sits over here for training and adoption of standards within a, let's say, a refinery. We're going to use that technology and bring it forward to asset performance. Why? Because the people that are now trying to maintain and manage the assets don't have the experience that perhaps other people have had in the past where they've been working there 30 years, so they know exactly what to do. These people are new, and they're looking to technology to help them make the decisions of that 30-year veteran. So by applying augmented reality, it means we can serve up information to them that would help them make the same decision. Okay? One example of that is a personal experience of mine. I was to see an OEM, and what they're doing is they're a large machine builder, and they need to differentiate themselves. So they're selling those large press machines now with a tablet connected to an HMI, connected to the information about the asset, the PM jobs, the drawings, the diagrams, all that bundled up in the cloud with their piece of equipment. So now as they sell that asset, and it goes into a manufacturing facility, they now know how to maintain it. They've got all the information on that tablet device. Okay? The second example of technology that we highlighted in the press release was around analytics. And in this case, it was predictive asset analytics. And so in this scenario, we worked with one of the largest energy producers here in the United States. And through looking at the data in a slightly different way, they uncovered a very small anomaly, which under inspection showed a hairline fracture in a turbine blade. Okay, so because they could see that ahead of time, they could follow the right procedures and things to happen so that they could go and correct that. And they calculated about $7.5 million in cost avoidance with that single catch. That same customer, after probably 4 years of using our technology, is up to about $65 million in cost avoidance over that time period of catches that they're finding ahead of failure. The last example I wanted to give you was in digitizing work processes. This seems like something we've already done many times. And in fact, we have. But for some organizations, this is a big step in their digital journey. It's the place to start. And so we're working with the world's largest chemical producer, actually, to fit them up with a digitized work process so that their operators can use the Android devices, in their case. They can go and collect data, they can execute tasks, okay, and they can connect to the rest of their network and information systems so that those operators are fully informed as they're doing their work. And that was a project we started at the beginning of 2017, and we've done probably somewhere around 25 plants, and we've got about 400 more to go. So it's quite a journey, but it is something they're very proud of and gives access to information that they've not had before. The last point I wanted to make around the release is around a partnership that I find it's very cohesive for us. We announced last year that we were partnering with a company called MaxGrip that does a number of things in the RCM field. Okay, we've had great success working with this company. They extend our knowledge, our industry knowledge certainly, but they bring a level of consulting capability that helps our customers create that journey. Okay, and we work with them on that journey. And we've also white labeled their applications so that instead of doing, or in addition to doing preventive maintenance and condition-based maintenance and predictive asset analytics, we can also do risk-based maintenance. Okay, so this will be an application from Schneider Electric that will take into account the criticality of the asset, but then also how it affects the corporate objectives. And then we can determine the strategy for the entire asset fleet through leveraging that tool. So all of this connected, okay, so all of these things in cohesion, I would say, with the technology, with the customer adoption, and with these customers, the value that they're receiving is really the most important thing, because the digital transformation words, message in the market is confusing for customers. And so from our perspective, if we can simplify it down to some 3 or 4 easy things that people can get started with and see real value, this is really what we're trying to do. And I think last year you'll read about companies that were able to do this, and they do it in small chunks in a journey, and they're receiving quite a significant ROI. Okay? Any questions? See, Paul gave me the 3-minute mark, so. Anyone? No?
I have one maybe.
Thank you.
Can you explain software delivery with the Aviva relationship?
So- Software delivery?
Well, customer base, who's the
there you go.
customer will be facing?
Absolutely.
Support process.
So the idea to bring both companies together was, of course, based on the technology to be able to deliver an end-to-end portfolio to the customer. So we'll be merging our software team together with the Aviva team, and they continue to be stock listed in the UK. That allows us to participate in the respective multiples that are out in the software market, and will allow us to easier grow that business. The relationship of that company, where Schneider Electric owns 60%, will be the same way as it is today. So we have, as part of the transaction, quite a few a service level agreement and collaboration agreements made in so that a customer can work with both companies flawlessly together without us being kind of told from the market that we are controlling the company, which we don't. We're only a 60% shareholder in that respect. I hope that.
So you'll be reselling software from that entity under your name, or what?
Also, there are all kinds of possibilities. For example, in the process automation space, where, for example, oil and gas customers require a complete solution, they can buy that from Schneider Electric, and Schneider Electric will sell the software and will bring all the execution resources and do a project together as it is today. There are, so to say, reseller agreements. So if our customers in other areas want to buy a complete EcoStruxure stack, for example, with a software package and edge control and some connected products, plus some application engineering, they can do that. But they can also go to a system integrator that we have 4,200 of them that carry many of the software products and also carry many of the automation products, and get a respective solution with all the support. So for the customer, they can go to their partners they've worked before with. They can come to us, but they can also, if they only want to have a software package, and all the software that we've shown, is one of the beauties, is agnostic to whatever the automation installation is. And in many cases, we realize that we don't have 100% market share yet on the automation space. We're working on it for many years, but others have as well, unfortunately. So, joke aside, obviously, no matter what the installation is, you can utilize the software, and with that, also one of those system integrators, or directly let's say, new Aviva is going to be handling those customers.
So one of our partners, as we know them, would be working with Aviva.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an important franchise that we have, and we'll continue to foster it. Actually, that really represents growth opportunities with funneling additional packages as we go forward through them. And many of the partners today, they're not necessarily only Wonderware, they go into the system platform, the portion that I meant earlier. So there is quite some momentum out there in the market. But thanks for the question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.